Good morning, Beverly Council on Aging. We are so excited to be here today. My name is Maura Allard. I am a real estate agent at Keller Williams in Beverly, and I specialize in helping seniors downsize when the time comes. But today I'm here with the National Association of Senior Advocates, and we're going to put on a short seminar for you entitled Corona Crooks, Pandemic and Fraud Scam Prevention. Before I turn this over to Brandon Campbell, you might be asking, what is the National Association of Senior Advocates about? We are a trusted, vetted professional organization where we specialize in helping older adults when the time comes to find a professional in the area. So if you visited a website, naosa.org, that is our website, and you were to look up the city you're in, perhaps Beverly, look up a professional that you need to do work with, an attorney, maybe a realtor, maybe a home remodeler or an organizer, you can search by the city and up will come a list of people in your area. That list, you can be sure that person has had an extensive background and criminal check. Their online reviews have been checked, as well as a board member has interviewed them. So next time you're in the market for a professional, please look at our website, naosa.org. At this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Brandon Campbell. Brandon Campbell is a lawyer in Beverly. His law office is the law office of Brandon L. Campbell, and he specializes in elder law. He's also conveniently located at the Cumming Center in Beverly. Take it away, Brandon.
Thanks, Maura. So today we're going to talk about the scams that are prevalent right now during the pandemic. So the first thing I want to give you is sort of a frontline defense. These are the basics that if you always follow them, you're probably going to be okay in most situations. The things that you need to be on the lookout for are unsolicited communications, telephone calls, letters, emails, or visits at the door. You're probably not going to be getting too many visits right now because of the lockdown, but when things ease up, scammers will come to your doorstep. So those should be red flags. If you see those things, you should be thinking, is this legit right away? Senior advocates right now, we're advising that if you get any robocalls, just hang up. Just hang up. You know, sometimes they will include in the robo message, press a certain number if you want to be taken off the list. The problem with that is if you actually press the number 1, it confirms that they have a valid telephone number for you. And 2, you might find yourself talking on the phone with an actual scammer, which you don't want to talk to these people. I'm going to talk about emails. There are a lot of phishing emails, scams going on right now. Phishing emails are emails that are disguised to look like they're coming from legitimate companies, but they direct you to false websites where they collect information from you and they use that to commit identity theft. A big thing with dealing with emails, first of all, like I said before, if they're unsolicited, that should be a red flag. And one of the things that you can do is very easy, is hover your cursor over any link that you're asked to click on in the email. And your web browser will, as you pause over it, will show a link of where it's going to take you. And if that looks fishy, that's also a good clue as that it might be a phishing email. Never be pressured to act, to spend money. That's always a huge red flag for scammers. Never wire money or send funds by a prepaid debit card. Prepaid debit cards are always, those are always scams. Anybody calls you up or contacts you email wanting you to pay them in that way. And wiring money, unless you're, you know, in some kind of business calling for it, or you're doing a real estate transaction, in which case you should have a broker involved and maybe an attorney, then you should be doing, that's when you talk about wire transfers. But anybody who's calling you up on the phone and wanting to do a wire transfer over the phone, that is not legit. And I'm going to leave you with this. there are some situations where you may be trying to purchase something that you need, and you may not, even if you do your due diligence, um, you're still not sure if you are going to spend money. Um, Use a credit card, okay? If you get scammed and you put the charge on the credit card, federal law requires that if you report it to your credit card company, they have to take the charge off. Big caveat though, this does not apply to debit cards. So if it's a debit card with a, say, a Visa or a MasterCard logo, uh, it's up to the bank. They may give you the money back and they may not. But if it is a straight out credit card, you can get that money back. So, you know, of course, it's easy to say these things and to think about them conceptually, but people get taken advantage of all the time, even though they know they shouldn't do those things. And the reason is what the emotional manipulation that goes with uh, the scams that people do. And the lingo is they're trying to put you under the ether. And basically what that means is they're trying to get you in a heightened emotional state so that your judgment will be impaired. And think about it right now, during this pandemic, think about uh, uh, the opportunities to their minds the scammers have, because people are worried about their health. They're worried about the health of their loved ones. They're financially insecure. There is all of this fear right now. And because of that, we are seeing scammers come in and try and take advantage of that. And the scams that are going on are just exploding right now. So if you haven't heard me speak before, I am a huge fan of Frank Abagnale. He was actually depicted in the 2002 movie Catch Me If You Can. He was played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And between the ages of 15 and I think 21, he went all over the United States and Europe committing check fraud, and he stole millions of dollars. And he actually finally got caught by the FBI. He did a few years in prison, and the agent that caught him was played by Tom Hanks. He did a few years in prison, but he was so brilliant, and he was just kind of a wayward kid that needed some guidance. They got him out of prison and they had him come work for the FBI, and he spent his whole career there, and he's worked decades and decades, and he's become one of the leading figures on preventing fraud. And he has a very simple motto, and it is 2 words, easy to remember, right? Stop and verify. What does that mean? Stop. Number one thing that means is don't talk to scammers, okay? The people who do this are very practiced. They do it a lot. They talk to many, many people day after day, potentially for years. And whatever you say to them, they're probably going to come back at you with some kind of thing that will, you know, make you feel like you're doing the right thing by giving them their money. It's sort of like arguing with a telemarketer, right? Anybody who's done any telemarketing knows they have a whole script right next to them. They're just waiting for you to say certain things so they'll respond, and then you're like, okay, take my money. So don't talk to them. Get off the phone as quickly as possible and verify. You've got to do your own independent verification of whether or not the offer or opportunity is legitimate, okay? And huge red flag, many people think all they have to do is look at the caller ID, okay? No, caller ID is easily faked. So if you look on your phone and you see it's a call coming from the IRS, you cannot take that as proof that it's coming from the IRS. The best thing you can do is, if you're on the phone, get off the phone with these people. if you're trying to, contact one of the businesses you normally do business with, like your bank, go to your bank in the normal way you would, and don't count on any links or phone numbers that they give you in the communication to verify, because it may just be somebody on the other end who's in cahoots and they're trying to trick you. All right, so now let's talk about some of the scams that are hot right now. So I'm going to go through some scams that are directly related to COVID. I want to talk about some that are involving the IRS, and then I want to talk about some that are involving the census. So there have been a lot of emails going around from supposedly from the Centers for Disease Control and the World Health Organization, and they're either like telling you that you've contracted COVID, or they're asking for donations in the struggle to fight it. So I'm going to talk about charities in a sec, but these are two that should be red flags for you if you get an email from either of these two organizations. Be very careful. There are scammers that are trying to sell testing kits online. They don't have testing kits online to sell you, okay? That is, these testing kits are very hard to come by, even by, legitimate medical professionals right now. It's a scam. Now, I don't know of any scams per se involving contact tracing, but I will say this. I know that there is contact tracing that has been started in the Commonwealth. We had a message, a communication from the mayor in Beverly, I believe it was last week, urging cooperation with contact tracing efforts. He said that any calls coming from the area codes 833 or 857 should be answered. I'm all for contact tracing, but I would advise you to be very careful. As I said, telephone numbers can be faked on caller IDs. If you are talking to somebody about contact tracing, you should not. My advice is not to give them any information that they could use, such as to fake your identity, such as a social security number or a date of birth. And you certainly shouldn't be giving them any financial information, any account numbers of any kind, okay? There are, these scams about fake, cures going around, or, I heard a presentation in which the Massachusetts Secretary of State, I believe she said that there was somebody on the North Shore that was busted for selling, $800, magic vitamins that were going to, protect you from COVID. So you have to take all that stuff with a grain of salt. Counterfeit goods and PPE. Now, more and more people are making masks, so it's not as difficult to find face coverings. But if you are trying to purchase, gloves and PPE, you're kind of in a dilemma, because you may be looking at sources for these things and you're not quite sure if they're legitimate. And I think some of them are fake. And then there are some providers out there who are taking orders, but they don't really have any inventory. And they're just going to, place an order, have it manufactured in China, and you might get it 3 months later. I would do your due diligence on that. See if you can check with other people what their experience is. This would be a good one to use a credit card on, because if you do get taken advantage of, then you can reverse the charge fairly easy by recording it to your credit card issuer. Corona tracking apps. This is one where you download an app and it's supposed to tell you where all the people with corona are in relationship to, where you live, sort of like the way the sex offender registry works. Really what it is it's malware, and it gets into your computer, locks it up, and the only way to unlock it is to pay the scammers through Bitcoin. So be on the lookout for that one. Another phishing email that's popular right now is Netflix. People are home. People are bored. People are watching TV. Oh, get a Netflix subscription. Guess what? It's not Netflix. You click on it, it asks for all your information, and then boom, you've been scammed. Fake charities. There are a lot of legitimate people out here and organizations that are trying to help with the crisis, and there's not an easy answer to this, but I would say that if you're contacted by a charity, number one, if they want a prepaid debit card or a wire transfer, it's a scam. If they're pressuring you to give money quickly, that's not a legitimate charity, because legitimate charities will be happy to take a contribution whenever you are willing. Things that you can do to verify whether or not a charity is legitimate, you can go to the Attorney General's website, the Attorney General of Massachusetts, and check and see if the charity has any annual filings. You can ask the charity for their tax ID number, which can help identify them. You can also check the validity of a charity through the Massachusetts Secretary of State website, their corporate database. There are also some websites you can do your due diligence on. It's CharityWatch.org, CharityNavigator.org, and Give.org are also good places to go to check out a charity. Last on this list is the creepiest one. You may get a call from somebody who claims they have COVID, and unless you give them money, they're going to come to your house and infect you. I'm not making this up, folks. This is a real thing. I don't know what the person's going to do, come to your door and try and cough on you. But obviously, if you get that kind of, if you hear that, it's a scam, call the police. I want to talk a little bit about the IRS, because this time of year, because it's tax season, it's always a big time for the scammers. So number one thing you should know about IRS scams is the IRS is never going to contact you by email or phone about a tax bill or a refund. You get a communication from the IRS, it can be scary, because you do your best on your taxes, you think, oh my gosh, what did I do? Did I mess up? Now I'm in trouble. See, it's the fear that I was talking about. It's the emotional manipulation. So, you get this call, it's threatening you're going to be arrested, deported, and they may want you to give them money to make the problem go away. It's a scam. Now, a little variation on this is because some people still haven't received their stimulus checks. And I know somebody who just got their stimulus check yesterday. It may be somebody who's pretending to be from the IRS who wants to call to get your account numbers so that they can give you the money that Donald Trump is sending your way, right? Very devious, but it's not the IRS, okay? Another variation on this is if you are a business owner and you have applied for PPE or the EIDL loans, you may get a email with the Small Business Administration logo, and it's another phishing email where they're trying to get you to click on something, and it's going to take you somewhere where they're just going to collect your information and use it against you. Another thing I wanted to bring your attention is, as if there weren't enough things going on in the world, we're in the middle of a census. So if you are, you need to be on the lookout for census scams. particularly by email. They're not going to ask for your personal information, the Social Security account numbers, and they're not going to be trying to collect money from you. Now, nobody's coming to anybody's houses right now, but as the restrictions lift, if you don't respond to the census in the mail, the census will actually send people to your house to collect the information. Newsflash, there are scammers who will go to your house and pretend to be the census and try and get your information. So I got this from the Census Bureau website. These are the things that you should do at the bottom here. Check to see if they have a valid identification. It should have a watermark from the Department of Commerce, an expiration date. And you can also call the Census Bureau if somebody comes to your house and say, hey, is this person legit or not? And then they will tell you. So what to do if you are a victim? Okay, so I have the phone number here for the Beverly Police Department. You want to report it to the police. You want to get a police report. More on that in a sec. Also, you should report it to the Massachusetts Attorney General's office. I've given you two numbers here, the consumer hotline and the hotline for people who are 60 plus. The Attorney General, Massachusetts Attorney General, is the highest law enforcement agency in the Commonwealth. The Beverly Police are great, but the Attorney General's office, they have a longer reach, and they have a bigger budget, and they have more resources. So you definitely want to get them involved. Using that police report, you can take it to one of the three major credit reporting bureaus and give that to them, and they will put a fraud alert on your credit report, which will make it harder to extend credit. Okay, it will require that there'll be additional verification, I should say, before they will extend credit, and that can help protect you. And obviously, any account, credit card holder, bank that is directly affected, you want to call and report to them what is going on and what happened. Another thing that you can do is contact the FTC. The FTC, they don't deal with individual cases, but it's a good thing to do so that they can start tracking down from a systemic level some of the scams that are going on, and try to address them and alert other people as to what's going on. So with that, we are going to have Gary and Mary Alice perform a simulated scam. This is what's known as the jury duty scam. It's a very popular scam that's done all over the country. Obviously, nobody is reporting to jury duty right now. And I don't know, I don't even think the courts have decided yet when they're going to start impaneling juries again, but we wanted you to see this presentation and think about some of the things that you hear and some of the manipulation that the scammer uses to take advantage of the victim in this case. And then with that, I will turn it over to Mary and Gary. Take it away. Ring, ring.
Sheriff's Department, Jury Duty Enforcement Division.
Hello, my name is Jane Anderson. I just received a message to call this number. I think there's been some sort of mistake. The message said there was a warrant out for my arrest.
I'm required to inform you that this call is recorded, ma'am. Can you give me the reference number in that message?
Yes, it's case number 5679 FAKE.
One moment. Yeah, I have your information here. I can confirm that a warrant for your arrest has been issued.
Oh, you're kidding me. Come on, this is ridiculous. I didn't receive any notice to attend jury duty.
I'd be happy to discuss this with you, but I have to verify that I'm speaking to the real Jane Anderson. Can you confirm your street address? And remember to speak clearly for the recording.
Yes, it's 857 Highland Avenue in Salem,
Date of birth?
June 6, 1964.
And social security number?
123549876.
Okay, Mrs. Anderson. My records indicate that a summons was mailed to your address 3 months ago. You were summoned to appear in district court on the 7th of last month, and you missed jury selection in a civil trial.
Oh, that's not right. I keep telling you, I didn't receive anything in the mail.
Ma'am, our records indicate that notice was mailed to your current address and that the notice was not returned to us by the U.S. Post Office. Under the law, your failure to respond constitutes a criminal offense punishable by up to 30 days in the House of Correction and/or a fine of up to $2,000.
This is outrageous. I'm telling you, I didn't receive any notice by mail, by phone, by email, or a carrier pigeon. I don't know what kind of operation you're running down there, but I'll have you know, my grandson works as a legislative aide in the governor's office. I'm going to take this to the top if I have to.
Ma'am, you're well within your rights to contact the governor's office, but I have to inform you that a warrant has already been issued in your case, and you're subject to immediate arrest by law enforcement.
I won't stand for this. I'm going down to the police station right now to take care of this.
Ma'am, you can certainly go to the police station, but I have to inform you that because a warrant has been issued, you'd be taken into immediate custody. You'd be held in general lockup until a judge sets bail, probably overnight at least.
Look, maybe the notice got lost in the mail. I don't know. I can't be the first person this happened to.
With all due respect, ma'am, if I had a nickel every time I heard that one.
Well, what can I do?
If you pay the fine over the phone, I can probably clear the warrant for you.
How much is the fine?
$350.
Ouch. To your information, I'm on a fixed income. I shouldn't have to pay that. I did nothing wrong.
If you pay the fine over the phone, I can clear the warrant and schedule a date for you to appear. You'll still have to do jury duty, but when you show up, you can speak to a judge about what happened. The judge has the authority to refund your money.
Can't you do anything?
Look, for what it's worth, you sound like a nice person. If you pay the fine over the phone, I'll schedule you to appear in 2 weeks at the same court. I see right here that we're short on jurors that day, and I know the judge who will be presiding. She's pretty nice. I'll put a note in your file, and I'm sure she'll cut you a break. Just tell her you never got the notice. You can tell her you spoke to me, Sergeant Cheatham. She likes me.
Really? Okay. I appreciate you helping me out. Sorry I got so mad. I'm sure it wasn't your fault.
What can I say? The computer sends out these notices. Let me tell you how you can pay the fine over the phone. Have you ever purchased a prepaid credit card? Our department does not take regular cards over the phone.
No.
So you just have to go to a nearby drugstore. I'll walk you through it. Are you on a cell phone?
Yes.
Great. I want you to stay on the line. If you get stopped on the way over there, I can keep the police from arresting you.
That's great. Thank you so much.
And scene. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Gary. Great job. I'm just going to throw up a slide here. We're starting to wrap up. I'm not going to take you all the way through this, but you might want to go back and listen to the recording of the call again, and with some of these points in mind, and think about the answers and how the scammer got so much information out of the victim. And I want to thank Mary and Gary again for doing an excellent job, especially Gary, who played the scammer, a really bad guy, and he's actually a really good guy. All right, so with that, I will turn it back over to Maura for some final thoughts.
Thank you, Brandon. Well, I want to say thank you to everybody that turned in today. We got some really important and relevant information from Brandon about how to prevent yourself, especially during this time of COVID-19. I want to thank my actor and actress, Gary Moffey of the remodeling company in Beverly. He works with home improvement, but specializes in general residential and aging in place remodeling. He has his CAP certification, which is Certified Aging in Place Specialist. Also, Mary Alice Cookson in Beverly. Her company is Peaceful Easy Feelings. She specializes in decorating, decluttering, and organization. I think both of them did an awesome job today, and I wanted to thank them again. We want to wish you from the National Associations of Senior Advocates to be safe and be well during these challenging times. Have a good day.